Hey everyone, welcome back to the Rollout. I am Linsay Rousseau.
And I'm Genevieve Marie. Hello and welcome. Today we have an amazing guest with us, Peter Kwong, and we are here to talk about that amazing film that just came out, Shang Chi.
And the Legend of
I absolutely loved it. The Legend of the Ten Rings. I absolutely loved it. Lindsay's over the moon about it.
It's the first movie I saw in theaters, guys. Like I didn't even see Black Widow in theaters. This I saw in theaters and it was everything I wanted it to be.
Absolutely the same. So please, Peter, would you mind giving us a little introduction of who you are and your work? You do some amazing stuff for SAG and just some really, really wonderful things, both on and off screen.
Well, I'll give you a little background. Number one, actor, number one. And so I was in Big Trouble in Little China. That's the claim to fame. That seems to be the most notable one
It's a cult classic. It is a cult classic.
Blessings from Heaven.
Yes.
So I played the character of Rain, one of the three storms that came down and fought the good guys. I was one of the bad guys, belonging to the David Lopan that was played by James Hong. And I was also in The Golden Child with Eddie Murphy. Came out about the same time. They were competing one against the other. And they had several of the cast members from Big Trouble in Little China in Golden Child. And I've done about 20 feature films in addition to that, as well as about 80 television series. And so that being said, that's on the one hand. On the other hand, I am a martial artist. I've been a martial artist for many years. And it's supplemented my acting career. Because when you type 180 words a minute, you go where you're needed, right? And that being said, then when I joined Screen Actors Guild and AFTRA and the unions of the acting profession, I noted that I needed to understand how the system ran, the governance of these companies, because it is show business, right. Show and business, 10% show, 90% business.
Right.
And as a result of that, I decided to serve as the board of directors at Screen Actors Guild and the board of directors at the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. I also served as a Television Academy governor, representing the performers peer group, and that's all the actors. And I'm also a member of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, the Oscars. So I wanted to entrench myself and firmly into the business of acting. Yeah. And with that, besides the martial arts, and I graduated with with a degree in theater arts, and was the first Asian American workshop at the American Conservatory Theater in San Francisco.
Yes, I've been there. I trained there. That's amazing.
That's right. I'm classically trained, if you will. So that
it all comes back to Shakespeare. I mean,
that's right. That's right. Well, we learn all these other amazing things that help me through everything, like circus techniques,
right?
Alexander technique. I learned the different acting styles there. I learned juggling. I learned mime. So and that introduction to mime there at the American Conservatory Theater allowed me to get an honorary mime guild when I did a movie with the rock group Kiss called, and I had to be this robotic samurai, and then I did all these work in a robotic fashion. So, and I also, when I was young, I did dance contests. A lot of people don't know this. I competed against the Lockers Dance Machine, against Slim the Robot, Campbell Lock, TikTok, all the main people in the greater Los Angeles area. Yeah. And my code name was Spider-Man at the time, not because of the movies, but because I was able to, because his code name was Peter Parker.
Okay.
And Peter Kwong. And who knows what's going on behind that Spider-Man, right?
You never know.
So, we all had to have our superheroes, which brings us full stream back to Shang Chi, superhero, first Marvel comic franchise to be an Asian superhero.
Yeah.
Critically important.
Right.
Because, just like Wakanda forever, we've got to have, And as Jennifer had mentioned in the past, that Big Trouble in Little China was kind of a superhero kind of action adventure, sci-fi thing that was back in the day, some 35 years ago.
Right. Well, I mean, and this film has been talked about for many years. I know back in the early 2000s, they were talking about making a Shang-Chi film, and I believe Brandon Lee was tapped to be, the lead role in that. And then, they were trying to get Bruce Lee's estate involved in it, and obviously that fizzled. They went ahead with their MCU at the time, and who knows? I mean, I'm wondering if the success of Black Panther was the reason they were like, okay, guys, it's time to move forward. Because Genevieve and I have been talking a lot in the show lately about how all the past 10 years of MCU films were pretty whitewashed. I mean, it was mostly men, mostly white casts. And now by phase 4, we're finally getting the diversity that we have been wanting for over a decade. So
to share with you the concept that you brought about Black Panther, that would be in an ideal situation. But the fact of the matter is not about the Green Lantern, but the green dollar is the key to everything, right?
Yeah.
So whether or not Black Panther was successful or not did not determine whether we were going to get an Asian superhero.
Mm-hmm.
It is the critical time that we are in right now with Black Lives Matter, with the Stop Asian Hate movement that's going on, that is really oppressing society itself. It's turning people against people. It's full of toxic energies, and I'm not about that. And so when we talk about bringing people together, it was because of the recent Asian successes in the box office.
Right.
We would not even get a shot if Crazy Rich Asians didn't hit the charts. If the foreign film, what was that one that was just a Korean foreign film that won?
Oh, Parasite.
There's Parasite. There's also The Raid.
Won the Academy Awards. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And as not only as a foreign film, but as a Best Picture.
Right.
I was there. I was there at the neon party during the night of the Oscars. The whole place went absolutely nuts when Parasite won.
Yeah.
And all the Korean actors were there, and it was pretty amazing. So that laid the groundwork, along with the different films that you've seen, The Farewell, both in dramatic films as well as action adventure stuff.
Right.
It pushed that confidence level of the studio. Say, I think Asians are bankable.
Which you hate to say that about an entire ethnicity.
That's the history. The history of Asians in film and television is once in every 10 years, you might get a nibble.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about when Joy Luck Club came out some 30 years ago, right? That seemed like a break, but nothing came up until Crazy Rich Asians. Yeah. Then we had All-American Girl with Margaret Cho, and then before Mr. T and Tina. We're going way back, near to where you were born, I think. But back in the 70s and then the 80s, with the that whole Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi, and all that stuff.
Right.
So it's been a very arduous time climbing forward, and as a result, now it's right that we can see that people are getting cast as finally leads.
Right. And not just one-offs. Because obviously, you have your Bruce Lees, you have your Jackie Chans who had huge success. But, I mean, Jackie Chan's Hong Kong films are very different than his American films.
As you say, it's because they were successful elsewhere, overseas. Then they brought their success over here. Right. And even then, Bruce Lee was the one who was first considered and thought of it, was considered in Kung Fu. But who did they cast? David Carradine. Right. They said that that Bruce Lee, as an Asian man, did not have enough draw to pull it in, which was nonsense, obviously. But that's the inherent racism that is in our film and television industry for such a long time. I mean, I've had situations that I had to stand in picket lines because of Charlie Chan imitations, things like that. I remember going to my first AD and say, what the heck? I go to my dressing room, I'm a guest star, and all the extras that are Asian descent, all the stunt people of Asian descent, they're in my room. I'm going, and every other guest star, being Caucasian, got their own room.
Yeah.
Going, I said, first AD, this is not acceptable at all. Yeah. So I've had issues with different producers at the time. They would say, hey, come on, Peter, it's the sign of the times, work with us. I'm going, I don't think so. So as a result, I've been quite an advocate a lot of these years. So there's a little edge to me.
Well, as there should be. I mean, when you have to fight as hard as you've had to fight over the past decades, and the fact that it's 2021 and we're now able to be talking about that, the fact that it's taken this long to be able to have like this massive smash blockbuster movie, you know, like you said, that is coming from a history of racism within this country. It's just, the fact that it's taken this long, I guess it shouldn't surprise me, but it does surprise me.
And that being said, what we know going back to the business of Shang Chi is that I went on opening weekend because I wanted my box office money to reflect on that $90+ million that took them over time. This is a significant win for an Asian superhero.
Yeah,
and absolutely. So, I didn't go to support the theaters.
That's I don't sure. The theaters. Exactly. I wanted my dollars to speak for themselves. Cause like you said at the very beginning of this, Peter, it's the green dollar that makes things happen in this industry. And, you know, it's like, okay, we have Black Widow. Oh, women can lead films. We have Shang-Chi. Oh, can have an Asian cast. We have Black Panther. It's like, okay, so maybe now we realize that society is spending money on these things, a lot of money on these things. So the excuse is that such and such person, ethnicity, race, whatever, can't lead a film, I think is pretty much a moot point at this point, based on the box office sales alone.
Honestly, they're going to probably try and use that till the day that the old guard dies. However, as long as people are customing these movies, as long as they're buying tickets, they're showing up and, you know, butts in seats, that is what is going to speak, you know, that's what's going to speak volumes and help this. I did want to touch on kind of what is now known as when minority groups get the Disney treatment. They like, it is almost like a badge of honor or sort of a we've made it sort of thing. So like when Captain Marvel came out, when Black Widow came out, women are like, oh, finally we get our first female-led film. Like, it doesn't matter if it's crap or not, like we got it because it's Disney. And since it's Disney, that means that we are now seen and valid and that we made it. It's the exact same with Black Panther. And I feel that it is also the same with Shang-Chi, where once you get the Disney treatment, the greater, you know, America kind of sees, American and Western audiences are able to see minorities in a different light. They're able to see that, oh, Disney thinks that these people or this group is valid. And therefore it does change minds, and it does change it changes points of view. Of course, you are going to have the people like with Star Wars, where you have the backlash of like, oh my God, there's a black stormtrooper, or oh my God, there's a female Jedi and it ruined my childhood. But for the majority of audiences, I feel like there is more of a positive push. And it is kind of disconcerting that Disney is the one that makes us feel valid and seen. But at the same time, it kind of feels like you're working with the beast. You've just got to work with the systems that are there. And I was very interested to hear what you thought about that, Peter.
Well, I won't focus directly on Disney per se, because every system, right, has its own hoops to jump through, if you will.
Right.
Mine is about breaking down those barriers, not to be focused on the barriers themselves. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to look at the wall all day. I want to say, how do I get over it? How do I get around it? How do I dig under it? Blah, blah, blah. So that being said, it goes to my nature against all odds. I'm in a business that is, the odds are against me that I would be successful. I recently ran for Vice President of Screen Actors Guild, the LA local, and as a national board of directors and a local board of directors, against all odds. Not because I was thinking that or lose, just the fact that I ran put me in the ball game. Yeah. And that was a win in itself. So as long as you guys, the public, general public, has an opportunity to vote, to buy a ticket, to be part of the viewing audience. That's what we want, is more of the opportunity and the presence of saying, when you see this face, you don't see an Asian face, which you might do at this time, but you see an American face, or just Peter. Because I don't concept and think of myself when I'm, joking around and we're having lunch or whatever, Genevieve, that I don't see a white, I'm not having lunch with a white girl, I'm having lunch with Genevieve, right? Yeah. And vice versa, and it shouldn't be that way. Yeah. But because people are so attention span, they're so short, let me categorize you, let me compartmentalize you and put you in a little nook. And then I don't have to deal with you as a person. It's like, no. You have feelings, I have feelings, we want to bring each other and humanity close together, by saying, I acknowledge you as a person, all the nuances that make you colorful. And so, and that's what was nice about Shang Chi, because not only the characters were fully developed, but it was very subtle, the way. It wasn't like they took a stick and pounded you overhead. This is an Asian guy. Yeah. No, it was very, very subtle. They walked into the house and they took off their shoes. Yeah. Yeah. They didn't signpost and said, look, we're Asian, we're taking off our shoes. But it was just very subtle like that. Yeah. Or the fact that they were speaking Mandarin from time and they didn't translate it. Yep. Because it wasn't necessary. It was like, I'm talking family here. Or I would sometimes mix things up, just like, as I'm an American, I sometimes, do something that, being in LA right now, 40% of our population is Hispanic. You're bound to know, just by saying La Cienega, you're speaking Spanish. Yeah. Exactly. You're like, figure it out. Lastima, or, you're eating sushi and you're saying, oh my God, I'm just like, I've got a temper hotter than wasabi, Right. You know what I'm talking about, right? It's like, And so
the other thing I loved is that they showed that it's not a monolithic society. Like Aquafina's character, Katie, mentions several times, like, she doesn't speak Mandarin. So when they start talking, she's like, hey guys, I don't know what you're talking about. And so you have that side of the equation to the side where, you have, Sean's character, who obviously does speak both English and Mandarin. So, and then you have his sister who grew up in China.
His character was born there and then came over here.
Yeah, and it was really.
We have all the different subtleties in our immigration status, whether you're born here or whether you're born in another country and you immigrated here. So that's why the whole concept of immigrants in America, very, very important, because this is the land of opportunity. And because you're an immigrant does not make you a lesser citizen.
No.
You paid your dues,
Yeah.
you became a naturalized citizen, you worked hard, you took the test, and you passed. And those people should be proud to be Americans. At the same time, Americans should embrace them, because I believe exactly what that Statue of Liberty, give me you're tired, you're poor, you're, you know that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you brought up a fantastic point. I'm actually a child of an immigrant. My father immigrated here from Sweden. So when they are having the conversation in the bar, like the big characters like need conversation of like, you went to, an Ivy League school and you graduated, you have this wonderful, like huge degree and you're both very smart, and yet you're working at like, you're valeting cars and, you're not living up to your potential. And then you also get the same thing, when they go over to Katie's home, it's kind of the same conversation kind of iterated, but in a different way from a family perspective, where they're a little bit lighter on her. They're a little bit lighter on her.
There's so many subtleties there, because
but
because you have the stereotypes. You've heard of the model minority, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
yeah.
you're Asian, you're good at math.
Excellent.
You got the tiger mom, all that stuff. And so this is a way to say, no, just because you're Asian doesn't mean you're smart. Just because you got this degree doesn't mean you're taking advantage of it. And that's the reality of life. We have all the different things that, you could be a doctor, but then,
Right. It was wonderful because it didn't speak so much to, the type of person. It definitely spoke to the times that we're living in now, where you have people who have degrees and they've done, A, B, C, and D, and they have done everything that they're quote unquote supposed to do, go to college, search for a job, but they're still somehow ending up working at McDonald's, because it's not necessarily that they themselves aren't trying, but the systems rather are failing them. And I really, really liked that they touched on that in Shang Chi, because that is such a universal issue that we've, Linsay and my generation, that all of our generations are facing at this moment.
Well, that's what, as you pointed out, that's exactly leads into some of the psychology that goes on into the subconscious bias, right? You don't even know that you're spouting out sexist remarks, it's like, or that you're, because it's so subtle, it's been in our system for so long, we don't even know that we're offending anybody, right? So that's very true. Right?
Yeah.
Well,
So that was my point, is that like, I just love that they took such a universal issue and they touched on it in such like not a heavy-handed way, but it all came back full circle to where, they come back to the bar and they're like, you will never believe what we did this, we did that, like we are living up to our full potential, we have like
superheroes now.
We are superheroes now, like what do you think about that potential, guys? And they're just like,
and what? You know what else is positive and uplifting? They take an ordinary person, right? Just an average Joe, a valet parker, and you turn them into a superhero, meaning that every opportunity to just meet their ultimate potential and be beyond your common day-to-day person.
Everybody. My hero.
Katie, well, and the fact
Katie's so great.
And that was one of the things I really loved about this movie, were the women in this movie. There was he literally, Shang-Chi would not have been where he was were it not for the women in his life, be it Katie, his best friend, be it his mother, be it, Michelle Yeoh's character, who essentially becomes, a teacher, mentor figure to him. And I feel like that was something that has been missing in a lot of previous Marvel films, and that like it took a community to create this superhero. He didn't just take a serum and, pop out of nowhere. He had mentors, he had friends and platonic friendships, without like a love triangle tied into it. He and Katie are just, they're best buds. There's no romantic tension there, and which I personally loved because
I want to share with you the concept of balance. This movie is extremely balanced with yin and yang. Man, woman, as you just presented. You can't be a superhero man without having the superhero mother, woman, friend, wife, or whatever, right? So that is one concept that I learned many, many years ago. I recall I was doing a movie in Sri Lanka, and we went into the heart and the ancient capital of Sri Lanka, which was Kandy, not Colombia, which is the normal capital. But there was the Temple of the Tooth. And the Temple of the Tooth was this Buddhist temple that carried the tooth of Buddha. That story has it is that they took it from India and brought it to Sri Lanka. And there was a huge line next to the hotel going up into this mountain. I'm going, what's going on? And I asked my interpreter, and they said, oh, they're all making a pilgrimage to the high priest of all of Sri Lanka. And he said, would you like to go and meet him, the high priest of all of Sri Lanka, of the Buddhist temples? I said, sure, why not? And so he brought the director, a male, me as the actor, and then the script supervisor, and she was this cute little girl, okay? So we went up there, and the place was very humble, dirt floors, but on the wall were pictures of all the leaders of the world. And first thing, he sat us down and he started saying something to the female, to our script supervisor, and he started rolling up a sutra, a scroll, a tiny, and putting it in a silver chalice, if you will, so a silver little, and handed with both hands to her and started chanting. And I'm going, what the heck is going on? I'm the star, and here's the director, and here's the script. Where does she rate? And I'm going, what is he saying to her? And the interpreter's saying, he's saying, oh, she is woman. She is the keeper of the future. She is the earth. She is the mother of life. And it went on and on and on and on about what women was. And it just brought my ego straight down. I looked at my parents, I looked at my mother in a completely different way. There is truth to that. And then now that I'm a martial artist all these years, I know the strength of yang energy, but you have the equal, if not more powerful yin energy, that this is the fist for fighting, and this is the peace that covers the fist, that says, we won't fight today, but there is great strength in the yield of power. And so Shang Chi did that perfectly and balanced it. And it did it not only with the men and women, but it did it with the martial arts, because they had that tiger crane,
exactly,
man kind of fight, but at the same time, all the women were doing Tai Chi.
Yeah, exactly.
And it became a dance, right? Because, and they don't realize that the slow moving ideas of the Tai Chi is just as powerful as those movements of the fist, is the open hand and the fluidity, because in every martial artist know that a straight line defeats a circle, and a circle defeats a straight line.
Yeah, the martial arts was just beautiful, just gorgeous. And and it's exactly as you were saying, Peter, they really made a wonderful mesh of the yin and yang, and how, hard style and, all the different styles. And especially since Shang-Chi needs to learn how to use both in order
you're right, exactly, to win, right, to defeat his father.
To win, yeah, exactly. And it's it's all about, as you were saying, balance. And I was absolutely blown away by all of the wonderful work that the actors did, and it's just
Right.
beautiful martial arts throughout the
And
entire
and
film.
and, and it also lent to the amazing acting ability of the villain,
Yes.
Tony
Yes.
Leung,
Oh,
right?
so
No one
good.
else could have pulled out the subtleties. I mean, it was just so sublime because he wasn't an evil character,
No,
but you could see
you
the
empathize with him.
failing. I mean, he was defeated by his wife in order for him to, drop his ego and change his whole life and become more passive. It's only after her death that he decided to, out of that anger, that hatred, that he couldn't control his, the peace within himself. And so then he went to the side of evil.
The other thing I loved about this was that, cinematically, they pulled a lot of influence from kind of traditional Hong Kong martial arts. Hong Kong films have a very stylistic way in which they do wire work. And, again, if you're looking at like, Once Upon a Time in China or, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon or Hero, like there's a very balletic cinematic style to to how they do the fight sequences with wire work. A lot of American action films, wire work's just there to supplement, to make, the falls look bigger and the punches look bigger. But here they integrated a lot of that stylism, which is so unique to those types of films, which I thought was so great.
It made it like an art piece.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I recall when I saw Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, where they're doing that bamboo in the forest where they're flying from cross country, they're flying across, right? Things like that. It becomes an art form. And then also even the kung fu, where they shoot magic, that is an all Chinese folklore. So they take those things and saying, okay, now in sort of just fitting kick, punch, kill with the fists or sword work, now you're dealing with internal chi and shooting that energy across, and you manifest it in a visual way to see electricity flying, like in Big Trouble in Little China, things like that you can shoot that chi out and fight from a distance, right? And now the rings become an extension of that energy that goes through space. And so that they did that, incorporated that Chinese philosophy of chi and energy, going beyond the physical realm.
Yeah, I'd like to go back and touch on Wen Wu, the villain of the film. Amazing. I honestly think that he is one of the strongest, if not the strongest, villains that we have seen so far. The most developed, at least for a Marvel film, the most developed.
And not just straight up bad guy. Like he's good, he's bad. You can empathize with him. You can understand where
it's like great tragedy. You find the hero, the hero that because one fault, he falls from grace, right? And that the same thing as I approached, because when I started in the show business, I didn't have the opportunity to play the leading man, either with bad guys, drug dealers, or, just because that was the stereotype back in the day, was, the dragon ladies and the gangs and all that stuff. So I played, and I had to come up with different ways of dying, as I say, if I can have a tear come down my eye as I kill somebody, but that's the sad truth of it. And so then when you have a fully developed character, like the Tony Leung character, he's able to show his full range of emotions. You could see the subtext that are going in. I mean, as actors, you and I are, we can see the quality of acting.
Oh yeah.
So sublime.
Just such subtle changes. Beautiful. I was so impressed by that. I think that was a real win for, obviously everybody in the production, but for Marvel itself, who continually comes up against the criticism that their villains are just bland, they're boring, they're underdeveloped. And
I noticed that there's a formula that they're trying to achieve, a sense of action, adventure, drama, high drama of the circumstances, and comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
And so when you have that, on one minute you're laughing, on the other hand you're going, oh my God, and that back and forth going in gets people up and out of their seats, and they're excited, they're ready to root for their superhero because he's just like us. He's funny, she is talented, graceful, at the same time, can handle
Right.
any opposition.
And I love that this was a fantasy film as well. Like
Yeah.
that was
What?
that
Wait.
really sold
What
it.
fantasy? I thought that was all real. What the heck are you
I
talking
mean, the
about?
CGI was fantastic with all the mythical creatures.
The mythical creatures just so wonderful. Steve just like grabbed my hand when he saw the Kyren. He just like, oh, and I was like, yeah, I know. It's really cool.
Yeah.
We were freaking out, and I was also spoiler alert, I was also like, if they have been promising and like dropping breadcrumbs for a dragon this entire movie and we don't get a dragon, I am going to be so upset.
Yeah.
And then when that dragon came out, I was just like, dragon, yes.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure the other mythical creature that they pulled out. That was very unusual.
Oh, the soul sucker. I have no idea. I honestly, I didn't do any research about the mythical creatures beforehand.
I guess that was more Disney, huh?
I think I think they just like pulled that out.
It kind of reminds me of what they did with what was that one that they recently had with, I believe Awkwafina was in it as well, the animated cartoon Raya, was it?
Oh, Raya and the Last Dragon. Yeah.
Yes, and so
they have the Dune.
Well, I mean, exactly. I guess in Mortal Kombat, technically, your soul is mine. They're sucking the souls out of, the losers, but
yeah, I think it might also later tie into the Doctor Strange lore and stuff like that. I mean, since obviously we have a lot of Doctor Strange tie-ins with this movie.
With Wong,
think that they are with Juan, which, oh my God, I love that Juan was so prominent in this film. It really allowed his character to shine because he is so important in the Doctor Strange comics that, bit of here and there, with the first film, but like this one, he was his own character, like doing his own thing, and you get to learn about the very like his like nightlife, which is great.
He goes out karaoke singing with the group, and he's a mentor. Yeah, I mean, like he's not a sidekick. He's like the mentor in this situation. Like he is Shang-Chi and Katie's mentor now, which I thought was huge. Like you said, he's coming out of the shadows of Stephen Strange to be a full-fledged character in his own right.
Did I tell you that I just ran into Benedict Wong at and just yesterday? It was Justin Chong's new feature film called Blue Bayou. And George Takei was there, Awkwafina was there, Benedict Wong was there. So it was just really cool. It's like, oh my God, it's so nice to see other actors supporting other actors in their accomplishment and achievements. But I like the fact that they, and one of my friends, one of the actor friends, because I knew so many people in Shang-Chi. He wrote, I complimented him. I said, you did a great job on Shang-Chi. His name is Raymond Ma, and he played, I don't know if you recognize, but he played one of the bad guys, the leader of the bad guy. He was really short and an older gentleman, but he was, and so I said, you did a great job. Congratulations on the opening box office. And he said, Peter Kwong, you're an icon with the legends of Big Trouble in Little China. That's gonna, very iconic film, and it's cult film and all that stuff. And I'm going, well, guess what? You are now in a cult film yourself. And from now on, you're gonna go to all the Comic-Con conventions. Excuse me. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
No worries.
You're in all the conventions now. You're going to have the Funko Pops.
Yeah, that's where I met you.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
we
right.
were both guesting at
What was it?
Monster
Monster
Palooza.
Palooza, right?
Yeah.
So I was in my Big Trouble in Little China booth, Peter Kwong signing autographs, and you were doing. Forgot your character that you were playing, but
Nosferina.
it
It
was
was,
pretty exotic. I tell you, like, oh my
yeah,
God, my
for
heart
MonsterVerse
left
comics.
out of its socket.
Yeah.
You're so sweet. Yeah, that was but yes, that is awesome. I love seeing actors who, you know, I recognize from, you know, small parts or to big parts, to them coming from having small parts to getting big parts. And I just, it always feels nice to feel like you're supporting them by, you know, going and seeing their films, and, you know, trying to show studios and, you know, the casting agents and stuff that, yes, we like to see these people succeed. You know, we like to see these actors, you know, be elevated into bigger, more important roles. So yeah,
Well, we're just at the beginning of Oscar season.
Yep.
So I know that with regards to superhero films, they're not really pushed a lot because, you know, they want the art and the.
Yeah. I mean, Black Panther was like pretty much the only one to have really.
But I'm sure that this is going to be special effects, you know, and visual effects, and things like that. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
without question, I'll probably watch Shang Chi, you know, another 20 times.
Right. As we all should. And then hoping to see where they take it into, you know,
not should, just that I want.
I mean, because there's so many, it's one of those, I mean, as with most Marvel films, there's so many Easter eggs and little things that you miss the first time. So every time you watch it, you're seeing something new that you didn't see before. And it just, you know, the replay value is fantastic.
Right. And
I haven't taken a look at the box office of the second weekend, or because this is what today is Thursday, so tomorrow will be the start of the
third box office. Yeah.
So I didn't know. I know they dropped a little bit.
They dropped, but they were still top of the box office. I know that.
Opening was Labor Day weekend, so the drop was. I mean, the drop is always expected.
No, but to still wind up number one.
But yeah, it's still way up there. I mean, it's killing it at the box office.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely fantastic. I do think it's interesting, and I mean, thank God for it, that Shang-Chi is actually one of the is the first Marvel Disney film that since the lockdown that they've have an exclusive I think it's 45-day theatrical release
before they go to streaming, right?
Before they go to streaming. And I think that really pushed and made it made all the difference, to be honest.
Well, because we saw what happened with Black Widow, and obviously that has led to a lawsuit because
exactly,
like they were cheated, and now Disney has said because of the success of Shang-Chi, and I did just check, it was top of the box office on week 2, bringing in 35.8 million. All their future releases are going to be exclusive for 45 days. So it's like,
right. It should be that way. And I would be really mad if they decided to put their streaming platform and above being able to make the money with these movies and be able to actually, make good on their contracts with their actors.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if that was just them being sneaky with Black Widow, or if departments were not talking to each other and they did not look over. Who knows what it is if they did not review those contracts closely enough. I do know that the 45-day theatrical release is more of a standard and less of a rule.
Right.
So like legally they could do what they wanted with that. However, since it's been a business practice and a business standard for decades, it there is an argument that can be made there in a court of law in favor of ScarJo's side.
Yeah.
But regardless, I'm really glad that they didn't screw this movie over.
No.
You
No,
know.
and then and at the very beginning, I know Simu Liu was fighting for the acknowledgement of this as a full. This is not a second-rate
Not an
movie.
experiment.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Thank you for recalling the exact right. It's not an experiment. This is the real deal.
Yeah.
We're not testing this with a white audience. Like that's just
such a weird.
that's what I was talking about is the sublime, covert racism that is inherent, in our system. We don't even know that is so racist to say that, because it's like, oh, you're a second. We're going to give you a chance. I'm like, no, it's like, this is it. We deserve to be here. You're not doing us a favor.
Right. And it's absolutely ridiculous because when you see the film, you know that is a money maker. Like, you are going to be like swimming in it by the end of these 45 days. So to just say that is just
it just shows that but that's like the old guard mentality. The old guard mentality in Hollywood is that, especially with like big blockbusters like this, is that you can't make money unless it is a hot white cis male headlining that film. Women can't make money. Minorities can't make money. It's like, it's queer characters can't make money. It's, and I think every time we come out with something that cracks that a little bit, with Black Panther and with Black Widow and, now with Shang-Chi, it's like, okay, guys, these are making money. So you're predisposed, or what you were saying, Peter, it's like, your innate racism that you don't even know you have, like, it doesn't hold up anymore.
Right. So, and the new Bob is not that old.
The what? The new
Bob, the new CEO of Disney. He's not that old.
He's not that. Yeah.
See, I'm sorry, you're on a first name basis with the head of Disney. Bob. Oh, and just speaking about big honchos at top, the fact that it's become such a big box office, not only that, but I just want to say how nice and humble and kind Awkwafina is in person. She's just a gem of a person. And it is, because, here's a person who's like major box office with Crazy Rich Asians, with Raya, with this one movie after another, Ocean's 8, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
And she's just Nora from Queens.
It's going gangbusters. That's so wonderful,
Well, and I love her story that they gave us a character who's not a superhero, who was still able to contribute, with the archery, which, and again, if anyone knows anything about archery, they were doing Korean thumb draw in the film. They were not doing Western archery draw. So kudos to, everyone being so specific in this. They were drawing the bows correctly, but that she was able to contribute, even though she didn't train since birth to be a martial artist. And I was kind of like, when we got towards the end of the film, I was like, oh, her character is probably going to be, relegated to the side. Right. And when Wong came in and was like, both of you come with me, I was like, oh, we're finally getting a sidekick who is just a normal person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also, the funny thing about that is Ben Kingsley's character.
That was so strange, wasn't it?
Well, they're like, we know we have to atone for the fact that we had Mandarin in Iron Man. What do we do about this?
Right. Well, the funny part about that is that Ben Kingsley's character, like, where Awkwafina's character could have easily have taken over, like, taken the burden of that role and been kind of like the goofy, like, one that kind of bumbles about and really doesn't do anything or has any effect on the plot. Really been that, like, cute Disney sidekick. He took the burden of that off of her so she could shine and become a really well-rounded, wonderful character. And I just, I think that is absolutely great. I don't know if his character was particularly needed.
No,
but
I mean, I think they were filling a plot hole.
like,
I
the
think
story
they were,
wouldn't.
yeah.
I think he's more there for the comedic relief and the humor and stuff. He's there for the kids.
See, you have a slight advantage over me. You know, I'm just seeing Shang-Chi stand alone by itself. I don't
Right,
have
okay.
the history of all the Marvel
Yeah.
connections that you have. I don't have the knowledge of. I didn't know that. Forgive me that you were such a Disney pro that you know.
Of geeks in that way, but
we see
bit.
them all, then we come on to the internet and then we talk about them all. Sometimes people like it.
Obviously, when we heard rumors about the film, the big question was, what do we do about the Mandarin? The Mandarin already exists in the MCU. How do we fix this? And the fact in this case, it's the white guy that's the bumbling idiot, which, you know, so many other times throughout history, it has been the minority character that is the bumbling idiot. So that was kind of a nice flip-flop there too.
Yeah, I do think that Aquafina's character, like, they wrote it so well, because it could have, again, in the third act, Lindsay, like you were saying, it could have tipped over into that, all right, now you're just going to be on the sidelines, like Shang and his sister are going to take the reins, and it's going to be about the trifecta of, you know, Shang and his sister and the father, Wenwu, and that is all we're going to focus on. But thankfully,
we're keeping Aquafina.
Right. Thankfully, they didn't. They were quite clever and smart, and everybody in the movie had a purpose.
Yeah.
They had an arc, whether it be big or small, and they really just tied everything up in a nice bow, put a nice button on it, and like,
and we're waiting for sequel now, right?
Well, obviously, yeah. I mean, and they definitely set us up, because I am so interested to see where his sister's.
Isn't there going to be two more in this chain? You're the expert.
There should be two more. However, if they are as popular as this the first one is, there could be a fourth one. There could be a quote unquote
like Fast and Furious 9, 10.
And they can put them in the other MCU things that are coming out. I mean, obviously everything is interconnected. So maybe we'll see it pop up in She-Hulk, or, you know,
They could be in the new Doctor Strange movie. We don't know. But as we've seen, that Thor Ragnarok made it so that we get a Thor 4. And I mean, that movie alone was so popular that it sprung the need and the want for a sequel to a franchise, to that the Thor franchise was just kind of like, we don't really know.
They revitalized it.
So and it renewed it to the point where we're like, no, now Thor Ragnarok, we want the trilogy off of that movie. You know, we want Thor Ragnarok, Love and Thunder, and another Thor movie. So
people keep spending the money, they'll keep making the movies.
Exactly. And Shang-Chi has the potential to be, you know, to be that other franchise that has, you know, the fourth movie. Which definitely has the tie-in to Doctor Strange, which, that's going to be so exciting. I love magic. I love fantasy and I love magic. So it was very nice. Oh, and I also wanted to touch on the one thing that really excited me about this Marvel movie is that very few times did I realize or think about the fact that I was watching a Marvel movie. This movie had its own it had its own secret sauce. It had its own feel to it.
Stand alone. Yes.
Standalone. Absolutely. Like, if this just was made by another studio, if it was made by like Warner Brothers or Sony, or Sony would never make a movie.
Paramount or whatever.
Or, you know, any other studio, I wouldn't be able to pick it out. I mean, it does have, you know, some of the you know, the touchstones and all of that of a Marvel film here and there. However, I wouldn't be able to be like, this is a Marvel film, you know, and I felt that that was absolutely refreshing, and what the studio needs. Marvel Studios needs to have its own standalone
So they don't
films.
seem so formulaic and
Exactly. No, I
And the
agree.
color palette.
Because after a while, when you blend all these you know what was, I can't, you help me out because you know all the superhero thing. When they had all those superheroes, you know, everybody's disappearing and dying, blah, blah, blah.
The Avengers.
Avengers
It was like competing one superpower over another. I go, it doesn't make sense. Some people are very humanistic and other people were off the chart, ultra super, right? So how do you compare, you know, a power of one getting smushed over the other? One person's just a human being and the other person's a god, right?
Yeah,
So
I mean, we could talk all day long about the Act 3 of Avengers Endgame.
we could.
I have
we
my
won't. But we
personal
can.
thoughts, but we will not.
Not in this episode.
No, but yes, it had its own it had its own specific tone, it had its own specific characters, it had its own specific color palette, thank God. And
but going back to what you said, you see, with that kind of movie, you need to be invested in the Marvel characters to really appreciate all the nuances, all the it was information overload for me, you know, because I'm not right. It's like, who are these people and what are they doing and what do they, and everybody had a relationship, right?
Yeah,
but
you had to be in the know.
Again, as you said, Shang Chi, stand alone. These characters on their own were amazing, and that's why this movie can surpass a lot of the other superheroes because, you know, its success is not predicated on other characters or you know the locked in. That's like, I have to get an encyclopedia.
I need to watch 10 other movies to understand this.
Exactly,
I could take my mom to this movie and she would.
There you go. It was
regardless.
And
you
that
know,
was
she
it. It was
wouldn't
an
have to.
amazing family film, right? You can take the kids, you can take the older people, and people who are really invested and want all the details. It was there. The information was there. For somebody who just wanted a simple mind, it's like, I want a love story, I want an action. It was there. So it had something for everybody.
Yeah. Wow. Well, on that note, we have.
Is it that time?
It is that time, guys. It's amazing.
Aww,
we could keep talking and talking, and all I can say is, Marvel, if you are listening to us, we need more of this. Please.
That's right.
Give us more.
Marvel, if you're listening to me, just like Samulu, hey, it's time for me to get a job on.
Oh yeah. Also, here's my agent's contact info now.
That's right. Type it in, right?
Type it in the comments. No, but Peter, thank you so much for being here. You have just been such a wealth of information and just being able to dive into this and your history and everything that you have done for the industry is just like, it's awe-inspiring for anybody who is not familiar with your work. Please go watch Big Trouble in Little China. I mean, if you haven't seen it, what's wrong with you? Please go watch Shang Chi over and over again. Let's get those box office numbers up for sure. Yes, but thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. You know, you never know where small roles become large roles. Who knows? I'm still waiting to be on Dancing with the Stars. Okay.
Awesome.
Yes,
well,
thank you so
salute
much.
Out.
All right. Yes. So if you liked our video, please like, subscribe, ring that bell so you get notifications every time that we do an update. We have a new show for you guys every Friday at 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are so happy to bring you this content. We're so happy to bring you this content and to be able to invite on amazing guests like Peter. Thank you again so much for coming on. You are a fantastic human being and wonderful friend. And now a friend of the show. We would love to see you guys next week. Please give our next video in the playlist a little bit of love. Watch a few minutes of that. We're trying to grow the channel. So thank you very much. And we will see you next week. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.